Hi everyone, welcome back to another Coach Kambomi video. Today we're going to be making a tier list on the LCS positions and the players I think that are going to be the best going to the split. So to start off, we'll have the top laners. We're trying to go in alphabetical order in relation to the team. So a general sniper, he hasn't proven anything, but I do think he has potential to be a top 2, top 3 top laner in the league. He's been a very hype pick that everyone's been wanting to see the last few years. So I'm very excited to see him. We're going to see how it goes. Next we have Fake God. I'm putting him down in C tier. He used to be on Dignitas way back when, and I wasn't really too impressed when he was there. Now I know he's been back in Academy. He's been, playing very well in Academy, but we'll just have to see. I haven't been too impressed with him going forward. Top laner's Fudge, I would put him down. Domestically, I would have him in A tier for doing this in order. I would say above Sniper. I've never been too impressed with his international play. He's had that one good MSI, and then past that, it's kind of been average. Rich, I would put him down in B tier. I think he has very high highs, but I also think he has very low lows. It's going to be interesting to see what he pulls out in this new season with all the new top lane changes and all the new pick changes. We're going to see if he decides to conform to normal pro meta, or if he continues to innovate with like the Alawi and picking on the Quinn. So we're going to see from there. Impact, he didn't have a great season last season, but I think it was due to a lot of internal issues within FlyQuest. I still think even then he was probably the best performing player on his team. I do think Impact probably now going into the split is the best top laner. Castle, I don't know too much on, so we're going to throw him in B tier. He obviously came from Korea, so he has some merit, but I don't know too much to form an opinion, so we're just going to throw him middle of the pack. Dokla, I would say is A tier. Alright, I would probably put him above Fudge. He played a lot better in the Nationals than Fudge did. He played a lot better in the LCS playoffs than Fudge did, and he just overall had a better end of the year. And I think if Dokla continues that for him, he's going to perform very well. Bobo, I'm going to show in between, hiccups, in between Rich and Castle. I think Bobo coming off the break may have been very good for him, or it could have been very bad for him. He's always been one to innovate, so again, he's going to be someone similar to Rich, where a lot of innovation could be his upside, but also could be his downfall. So I think he has potential to be up there, and I think he has potential to be, higher or worse, but we will have to see. And this here is my rank for the top laners. Now we're going to move over to jungle. And now jungle, we'll start off with Umpty. He was on Bro, I think is what it was short for. I think we probably could have gotten someone equivalent for cheaper. I don't watch too much LCK, so we'll have to see how he performs in the LCS, but here recently, the imports haven't really been performing as they should, so I'm very hesitant to put him any higher. I don't think I should be putting him any lower, so I think middle of the pack B tier is fine. Blabber is the best jungler going into the season, and we can go over a couple others once we get down there, but Blabber has consistently been the best jungler in the league. I don't think that's going to change going into this season. Contracts is A tier. The only reason why I don't put him in S tier is his super high aggressive playstyle does tend for a lot of variability in how well he does. So he can either have a 10-0 game or an 0-10 game. But I do think him and Palafox do work really well together. We'll see how it goes. Next we have XU. He was on FlyQuest before. He filled in during, I believe, their 2020 season when the starting roster, which had Palafox, wasn't doing hot at all, so they just subbed out the entire starting roster, and he played pretty well. But now that he's the starting jungler, We'll have to see how he goes. I think he performed very well in Challengers League, so I'm not going to put him anything below B, but he has yet to prove himself in the LCS stage as a starting jungler, so we'll see how that goes, where he's kind of like the forefront of the team. Armeo, I have him at D tier. He had a really good first 2 weeks with EG. They kind of hard fell off. It seemed like once JoJo wasn't able to 1v9 every single game anymore, and then they started switching between junglers with Armeo and Shaden. I think that's where things kind of really fell off for him. I've never really been too impressed with Armeo, but hopefully he proves me wrong. Guy got a second chance in the LCS. Hopefully he proves me wrong. Inspired, I would put in A tier. If he played less last year, I would definitely put him in S tier because he was a reigning LCS MVP and a EU MVP, so he is a very, very good jungler. However, with it having a split off, I'm hesitant to put him in S tier just because I don't know how he's going to perform, especially with the new patch. River, I'm putting him at the lowest end of B tier. I know he was one of the better junglers, one of the best junglers in LCS last season, but he had one of the biggest fall-offs going from summer regular season into playoffs, and then into that qualifying world match against BDS. Him and I forgot the mid laner's name. Gory had the most int performance I think I've ever seen coming out of mid jungle. They just seemed like they didn't want to be there. And then we have Boogie. I'll put Boogie above, like, the highest of B tier. I think he played very well with TSM last season, especially considering the turmoils that TSM was experiencing. I think him and Nathaniel worked really well together, and I'm excited to see what they do from there. But this is my jungle tier list. Now let's go to mids. Mid, we have Jensen. I would probably put Jensen... I would say C tier. His last split with C9 wasn't great. Ever since Team Liquid kind of dropped him, he hasn't been the same Jensen as he was. He had a decent stint with Dignitas, but it's hard to determine that because Dignitas as a team was performing badly, but he also had some really bad games. He had like 1 or 2 maybe carry performances, but I'm excited to see if he proves me wrong because I actually do like Jensen as a player. I have Jensen over Bjergsen as my NA mid GOAT, but that's just me. Then we're gonna have JoJo and S tier. EG, when they weren't having jungle issues, was one of the best teams. Like, I would say better than FlyQuest, and probably equally as good as C9. But JoJo was by far the best mid laner. It was JoJo in his own tier, and then everyone else. He kind of had a fall off once he had that sick week where they went 0-3 and then weren't able to pick up back for him. Quid, I'm also gonna put in C tier. I think he had a really rough start with 100 Thieves, but he kind of progressively gotten a bit better, but he was really only known as an Azir player, and with Azir being back in meta, it may just be banned against him, and then we'll have to see what he picks out. If Azir isn't banned against him, I'd probably put him at like B, maybe low A, but other than that, I would say he's C. He's kind of an Azir TP and pro, so we'll have to see. I don't remember who he is. I think this is Mask. And if I remember correctly, Mask was a top laner who is role swapped to support. I'm not too convinced on him. I really think there was a lot better options that we probably could have picked up in Challengers League or from free agency. But I'm not a team owner, so that's not my call. Palafox, I would say, is the other S tier mid laner. I would say him and JoJo and Palafox are the 2 best mids in the region. As he's also known as Palafaker. APA, I would put him in B tier. He plays a very, very supportive style in Team Liquid, which made sense because you had, I can't think of his name. a team Lucas top laner last season, Summit, and then you also had Piosig, who were very carry-oriented players, so you just played supported around them. Now with Umpty and Impact, Impact's also more of a supportive player, so I'm not sure he's going to perform as well. Insanity, I would put in A tier. He kind of just solo carried TSM. It was team solo mid. It was basically why Reggie named his team Team Solo Mid. And then we have Dove. Dove, again, I'm not too sure on the mid pick. Again, I really feel like there's better options in free agency that we could have picked up than the Korean who is an EMEA. I mean, that's my opinion. But I'm not going to put him in D tier because, again, I didn't keep up with the EMEA. But I do think that the people above him are probably going to perform better, just with our current track record of imports. Now we have ADCs. Super obvious. Berserker in his own tier. It's Berserker and then everyone else. Excuse me. I believe this is Meech. Could be wrong. I've heard really good things about him. We'll put him in B tier for now. I don't have too much to say because I haven't really followed Challenger scene too much. We have Tomo. I'd put him in C tier. He had good laning, but pretty poor team fighting. And the laning issues what Dignitas needed because the other ADC they had at the time was Spawn, and Spawn was not good at laning. He was known for team fighting, but he couldn't get to the team fighting stage because his laning was too bad. Tomo kind of shored that up, but his team fighting wasn't as good. So maybe with the off season he got a bit better. Only time will tell. We have Masu. Masu is just as hyped up as Immortals Jungler's last season was. Last 2 seasons rather. So the hype is either gonna go up here or it's gonna go way down here. We'll put him in B tier for now. We'll put him above Masu. Or rather Meech. This is Masu. We'll put him above Meech and we'll kind of see how things go. Tactical, I think, is the best worst player. Best worst ADC in the league. If Tactical is on form, I would say he's on par with Faker, or not Faker, Berserker in regards to team fighting mechanics and laning. If he's not, which I would say like 70% of the time he's not, he's just straight sprinting it. I think Tactical had his glory days when he was on Team Liquid with Core JJ. But, I mean, again, I hope the best for the dude. Dude's a really good player. He's so inconsistent. FBI, I think, proved he's a very solid, we're not going to say franchise, because it's like sports and all that, but he's very good, solidified, consistent ADC in the league. That's really what you need. Someone who's going to be consistent, know how much gold he's going to have around team fights, and, you know, play team fights well. He played very, very well Worlds. To be honest, I'm drawing a blank on this guy, so we're just gonna throw him below Tomo. This is probably Shopify's ADC, which is B-Boy. I put him above Tomo. I have a semi-personal bias on this with, you know, Sven and 6A being left out of a team. I think you probably could have got better options. I think Dignitas probably could have got a better option than Tomo. Yan, I'm gonna put him above Masu for now, just because I've seen him play and I know what he's capable of. He's a very, very strong laner, but his team fighting is kind of lacking. Now whether that was because of Summit kind of just running in a side lane, or Piosig not being on the same page as everyone else, I think his team fighting was subpar compared to his laning. It's part of the reason why Team Liquid would have these 4 or 5k gold leads at 10 minutes and then just throw them away. But this is our ADC tier list, and now we're going to the supports. Final one. So for supports, we have Bucio. I would put Bucio in A tier. I think starting out, Bucio and Doublelift were kind of just trying to go too hard with the Azir supports and all this stuff. Like, I think once he actually got down to the nitty gritty, he started playing stuff like Rakan, Nautilus, you know, all these engaged supports that really had a lot of agency. I think he performed very, very well. It was basically double and Busio against the world on 100 Thieves because the rest of the team was not performing well. Zazel, I haven't seen him in the LCS in a bit. When he was in the LCS, he was above average support. When he went to Worlds, played well. He's been coaching for quite a bit. He was on Challengers League, and then he got picked up. He got picked up, so I'm happy to see Mr. Big Beard. Love the beard. I'm happy to see what he's gonna do. Hope he does well. Isles and put in C tier. We saw him a bit in LCS a few years ago. Wasn't all that impressive. Apparently he's been doing well in Challengers League, but he'll have to revamp my opinion. We'll have to see how he does. Ayla, I don't know. I'm gonna put Ayla in the same tier as Tactical for the same reason. I think Ayla has the potential to be a top 5. I mean, it's less impressive now that there's 8 teams, but when there's 10 teams, they get the potential to be top 5 support. But he also has the potential to be the worst support in the league. This was shown with FlyQuest, and then this was shown with the later portions of EG. I don't know what the issue is. I just know he's super inconsistent, and like that's not what I'm looking for when I'm looking for pro players. So that's why I have Ayla and D. That's probably gonna be a controversial opinion, but that's fine. Vulcan, I'm not gonna put him in S tier yet. I think Vulcan played worse than Busio did last year. He didn't really have a good season, whether that because he was team hopping, didn't have a chance to mesh with the ADCs, he didn't mesh with them well, whatever the case may be, he didn't really perform all that great, but I do still think he's one of the best ADCs in the league. Ole, we're going to put in C tier. Even when he was on Team Liquid with Double Lift, he wasn't fantastic. He kind of got, his mistakes kind of got shadowed by Double Lift, Jensen and Pobelter, Smithy, and I believe Santorin was the other jungler at the time, and you also had Impact, so like there's a lot of good players, so being able to minimize mistakes you're making, but I do think he makes quite a lot of mistakes. Who he's going to be S tier. I think he's going to be the only support in S tier. MVP was in contention with Huhi last summer rather. And Huhi was best support by far. It wasn't even close. I mean, you could argue Sven was, but Sven's not on this list, so with these 8 that we have, Huhi was by far the best support. And now we have Core JJ. I think Core JJ is going to be here. Actually, we'll put him second. I think he had very, very good laning. When he was on engaged supports, he had very, very good engages. He has a good knack for when to go. But something wasn't clicking in that team, so it's like it's hard to put him in S tier because he also hasn't looked that great. Now, whether that's Core JJ bias or we're used to the world champion Core JJ coming to the LCS and just absolutely tearing through the league, that also could be a thing. But that's kind of how I see it in regards to current standing, where he's just not looking as good as he used to. But that's also my support tier list. Those are my 5. We'll run through them again. Top laners, I think top lane is a fairly strong pool. No one really in D tier, no one I think is going to be absolutely terrible. Junglers, basically it's average or nothing, or average or above average, and then you have Romeo. Mid laners, you have 3 to 4 that are really, really good, and then 4 that are mysteries to me. ADCs is probably the most wide varied. You have a couple of bottom tier ADCs, a couple who are mid or haven't proven themselves, and 2 top tier, and the supports is unironically probably our stronger soul. We have 5 really, really good supports and 3 supports that really still need to prove themselves. Leave your questions, comments in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. I did make these on Tier Maker, so if you wanted to make your own tier list and kind of share them on Twitter, just use that. It's LCS 2024 LCS support tier list. You also have ADC. It's basically the same name for all of them, but except you just change the name for the position. Other than that, you guys have a great rest of your day.